This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, hopefully.
This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Welcome in, everybody, all you roadies out there, to another episode of the show. My went out. Can you guys hear me?
Restart.
I think by going like this, my mic is all fucked up. I'm getting a new mic. I ordered one, and the one I ordered still didn't work, so I had to return it and get a new one.
Eagles.
Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say the Eagles are sitting everyone, and it looks like they're going to just run Sermon out and see
what he's got.
We can talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, okay. I'm not going to be watching, so if you're watching or you mentioned it or something.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the Eagles' backfield and what's going on there a little bit.
Okay. Check.
This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
Roadies, welcome in. All right, this is not okay. This is not okay right now.
What's going on with that mic?
I don't know. They need to fucking throw it away. That's what I need to do. It's my dad's old mic.
Oh,
this mic,
the bottom.
Yeah, it's the yeah. I'm holding the bottom of it like in place because it's all fucking janky. Mike, you're doing the intro
game thing.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do. You see me blowing in on it? Yeah. Mike, do the intro on this so that I'm not talking as much, and hopefully it's okay for when I.
We need you to talk, though.
No, I know. I'm just saying that that was the second time I tried the intro and it didn't work. So
all right, try it one more time. One more time. No, one more time.
One more time. Okay, you got it. Yeah. It's working now. It's working now, but watch what happens. Fucking bullshit. Check.
This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
What's up, roadies? Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow with your hosts, per usual. You got Truck, you got Kulz, and we got Shane McCormick. Shane, how you doing today, buddy?
Shane O'Mac.
Doing well.
It's always a great day when we have Shane O'Mac on the pod. I just want to say
absolutely. Absolutely. I did want to mention you can find us all on Twitter. Tags are included in the image here. If you're listening on a podcast, find me at fantasy_trucker. Find Kulz at Kulz_sports. Find Shane O'Mac down at S McCormick_FF. Follow the show at Fantasy Roadshow. Check us out on YouTube. The video is live at youtube.com/sportsethos. And check out our Substack, all of our written content, the fantasyroadshow.substack.com. Boys, how you doing? We're here talking my guys. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm just so ready to get into the season. It's Thursday night recording right now, and there's two preseason games on, and it's the last week of preseason. So for me, I've been holding off any excitement or anxiety. We're getting ready for the season, but we have week 0 of college football, couple weeks out of our first Sunday, so it's starting to get pretty real.
Oh yeah, the anticipation is killing me. I don't know about you, Shane, but even this preseason games, I'm watching them closer and closer and closer. I don't know.
Yeah, and this weekend, like for a bunch of people, especially like home leagues, this is draft weekend. I feel like it is a huge draft weekend for a lot of folks.
Oh yeah.
We have one Saturday. Truck and I split a team, so that's our first and maybe only redraft league this year together.
We have mostly dynasty.
Yep, I have. I have a couple. I don't know. I probably have 5 drafts coming up, and very prepared this year. So looking forward to those. And it's just it's draft season, baby. I love it. Shane, I do want to comment on the above your right shoulder. That is an excellent.
Over there.
The other right.
No, there they are.
Yeah. You got the
stack of Sellies.
I love that. I love that. Once I get a studio set up, I'm gonna have. I already saw across the street. There's a convenience store, and they have one of those Celsius fridges. Like, I'm gonna start looking in. I'm gonna be looking into a Celsius mini fridge to just reach
that.
Back.
Keep it in the background. That is awesome.
Yeah.
You guys ever had like that one league you got in, like you were so desperate to win your first championship in? I feel like the Celsius sponsorship with the road show that's my, like, if we can make it happen, that'll be like a championship moment.
Yeah, that's gonna be an amazing time. We're certainly gonna be working for it, and you've been helping, tweeting at them and getting at them. But someday I'm going to have a Celsius fridge, and then I'm going to have a Topo Chico fridge, and it's just going to make me so happy. That's going to be my studio.
It's the little things in life, right, Mike? Just the little things in life.
100%. 100%. But yeah, so today's episode, we're doing My Guys. And I've actually I have never really been this deep into the fantasy football, media space. This is the first year of the podcast, and just got a Twitter, so kind of engulfed. And I didn't know that the My Guys is like a big thing, but here we are, and we're going to be presenting with you our My Guys that we're just pretty much targeting in every single draft, whether that's performance based or ADP. We'll get into the details of that, but asked Shane to come on for the episode. We want to just give you like different perspectives and give you guys as many different players to target, and a really solid pool to like look at while you're going through your drafts these next couple of weeks. So in that case, buckle up.
Oh,
Ryan, start us off. Let's get it. Let's just dive right into it. Quarterbacks.
Yeah. So if anybody's listening that normally watches the show or follows along with the show, I think this is going to come to no surprise, but my quarterback, my guy, Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields this year. I'm drafting him in the 4th round and the 5th round.
I'm going to cut you off. We need you to.
Okay. All right. Would you cut it out, please? Okay. Would you cut it out? I am drafting Justin Fields in every freaking draft I can. Okay. Every single one of them. If he's sitting there in the 4th, I'm thinking about it. If he's sitting there in the 5th, I'm scooping him up. If he's sitting there in the 6th, I'm like, what are you guys doing? You're just handing me this league. I'm taking it. So, Justin Fields, he was the quarterback 5 last year. He's going to get better. He's got DJ Moore. What's not to love about Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears right now, okay? I want to be there at opening day when they kick the living shit out of those fucking Packers, okay? That's what's going to happen. And I'm going to be there to watch because Justin Fields is going to throw for 250, maybe 300, maybe, 200 or 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good day. So, yeah, my quarterback, my guy, Justin Fields. Put it on the ticker.
Any league you get Fields in, you have to have a celebratory beef afterwards. Let's make a deal on that right now.
Oh my God. Oh yeah.
I love Fields too. I think he's the real deal. I think the Bears have obviously gotten all the hype this offseason, and that Fields Moore stack, like I haven't seen a stack targeted like that. I mean, I'm not going to say Kelsey Mahomes, but like people are targeting in on that stack. You know what I mean? Like that seems to be, if you're looking at Fields, you're looking at DJ Moore, and they're going in like back-to-back rounds. So you're seeing people at end of rounds kind of reach and just really want to have that stack on their team. So I think it's interesting. It's exciting as a Bears fan, and growing up, being a Chicago guy. So I got really nothing else to say. I'm a believer in Fields' arm. So now that they put some weapons around him, I'm excited to see him being able to showcase that arm that he has. So.
Yeah, and I think the reason why everyone's going after the stack because it's relatively cheaper when you're talking about, in previous years, you saw what happened with Diggs and Allen. You saw what happened with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. You saw what happened with this archetype of the moves that the Bears are making. And if you're able to grab DJ Moore and Justin Fields and hoping that that's going to extend to that spot, that stack is relatively cheap when you're talking about those other guys in that category. So
that's a good point. Yeah. That's a great point. And honestly, DJ Moore has that skill set. And if we're talking my guys today, like that is Justin Fields' guy, right? Like in terms of receiving target, he is so much above the rest of the receiver room and obviously Cole Kmet. But I love it. You mentioned someone that is my guy, Josh Allen. He's my quarterback that at this point, I am pretty much saying that is an auto pick for me in the third round. I think like we've seen in the past 2 years, not last year, the 2 years before that, he was QB1. He was the cheat code. He was like, number one overall. And I think that season he's coming back and he's going to have that type of a season this year. I think he had a lot of off the field distractions and that elbow injury kind of limited his deep ball ability. You saw Diggs, hurt from that as well, but I think he's coming back and the Bills know they have a special team. They go out and get Kincaid. I just really like the Bills and I really like the Bills offense. You've heard me say, I think that they're my Super Bowl pick. So Josh Allen, I don't know what you guys have to say there.
Yeah. And even like last year, like he had kind of a down year, right?
Yeah.
He still had, I think it was 10 games of 25 or more points.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, 10 plus games of that much production.
Yeah. So,
anytime.
Sorry,
go ahead, Mike. Anytime Allen doesn't. Anytime Josh Allen doesn't finish as the number one overall quarterback is a down year for Josh Allen. Yeah. Whether it's really true or not, on number one, it's a down year.
Yeah, and like the fact that I could get him in the third round, and listen, so what I do in the first 3 rounds is I go obviously like high upside because quite frankly, most people are high upside at that point. But I also like to make a safe decision. Like I would rather know I'm getting Josh Allen, who on a down year has 10 games over 25 fantasy points, than taking a swing on a Jahmyr Gibbs. Is he going in the third round? I mean, something like that where there's a little more risk. So I don't want to swing and miss in the first 3 rounds. I'm so confident in my ability in the mid rounds to just get guys that have high upside and a little bit more risk. Your Pickens, your Ayuk. So I just like going Allen, knowing I'm getting the number one overall in what I think is going to be number one overall point scorer and quarterback. So he's an auto pick for me in that third round.
Yoshi. Yeah, I don't know, Shane. I don't know if you were paying attention before, but Mike in a random mock called Josh Allen Yoshi. And I was like, okay, so I guess that's his nickname.
His number one character too.
Yeah.
He's my Mario Kart character, Yoshi. So Yoshi, QB1, overall number 1, Super Bowl winner. Josh Allen's my guy at quarterback. Shane, who you got?
So I kind of like group it into a group of quarterbacks. So I have done tons of mocks like everybody. I have not left a draft yet where I haven't got one of the top 8 guys. Has not happened. Not going to happen for me. It just isn't. And most of the time it's Allen in round 3 or Hurts in round 3. But if it's not, and then it's always been Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence. And I think both of those guys are going to be even better this year. I want, either one of those 2 guys. I just what I don't understand is like when you're talking about Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts is why don't we treat these top quarterbacks like we do other positional players where we would want somebody that's consistent for the last 3 years scoring, let's take him. I don't care if it's round 3. I'd rather do that than try to gamble on Anthony Richardson maybe being a top 10-7 guy.
Yeah. I mean, so the guy that I'm targeting outside of that, if I just somehow don't get top 8, which doesn't happen very often, literally maybe like once this entire like mock and even best ball, but it's like Daniel Jones is who I'm looking at because of his upside and what we saw last year. But there's risk there, right? Like it's still Daniel Jones. It's not one of the top offenses in the NFL. Yeah, he kind of has that running ability cheat code, but and I am pretty confident in him. I think Waller's going to be awesome with him there, but you're right. It's just those early rounds locking up a guy who, so a guy I was going to have on my list was Josh Herbert, like exactly like you said. I have him as QB3. What?
Who would you have on the list, Mike?
Josh Herbert. Justin.
What?
Justin Herbert.
I was surprised even the second time. What? Josh Herbert. What? What's wrong with Josh Herbert?
Double down on it.
Sorry. Whatever. What if I just stuck with it? Josh Herbert. So Josh Herbert, I have him as my QB3. I'm taking Josh Herbert guaranteed if I miss out on Allen. So no, yeah, I completely agree with you. I think because of the way that the NFL has transitioned to this just slinging the ball, scoring a lot of points, like fantasy football has as well. Having those top tier quarterbacks are almost, essential to winning a championship, I feel like. So totally agree. So Ryan, let's move on to running backs and get us started.
Is this thing
Keep it together. Keep it together here.
Having microphone issues, but hopefully it won't cause any disruptions. But no, I completely agree with you guys. Another guy I would want on my list was Trevor Lawrence, because if I'm not getting Justin Fields, I want Trevor Lawrence, and from there on. So, mother.
Ryan, keep it together.
I'm trying. Okay. Moving along in my running back position, I have someone who I'm very high on, and I want in almost every draft in the mid rounds. It's Miles Sanders. Okay.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders.
Yes, Miles Sanders. Okay, I'm carefully holding this thing. Hopefully this doesn't fall apart on me. Miles Sanders was early on in this offseason. He was the running back that was signed and got paid money in a time where nobody is getting signed and paid. Okay, so that's intriguing there. The Panthers are going to be a better offense than most people believe that they are going to be. So I'm really bullish that Miles Sanders is going to be the workhorse guy. I know a lot of people are talking about Chuba Hubbard, but I'm not worried about him. I think Miles is going to be the guy early and often. He's going to get a ton of passing work, and he's with a running backs coach that he's very familiar with, and he has had success with in the past. Very, very high on Miles Sanders. I want him on almost every one of my teams, especially at the price you can get him at in the mid-20s. I'll take him there all day.
Yeah, I want to hear Shane's comments here before I get into Sanders.
So I've been on Sanders all summer long. I think there's this notion that he can't catch the ball, which I think is totally false. He caught 50 balls his rookie year. I just think he was with a quarterback that didn't target running backs. And he was in with a quarterback who took a ton of goal line carries. And so I think he easily can get to that 50 catch mark that he was in his rookie year. And if you get that with the rushing production and the receiving production, I feel pretty confident he's a top 20 guy. Now, I am slightly concerned that he hasn't been on the field yet with this injury. If I could see him on this weekend, I'd be ready. I feel much better, but still, where you get him, I think he's got a great shot at being top 20.
Yeah. So I've been pretty outspoken about how I don't like Sanders, but and we're going to talk about Madison later, and I almost like put them in the same bucket where they're in offenses that have historically have a very good high production running back role. Obviously, you had Dalvin Cook and CMC in those roles, so that plays into it. But look at Deonta Foreman, what he did last year when he stepped in after the trade. Like, he was, I think he was top 5 a couple of weeks. I don't know the exact where he placed, but he was, he excelled in that role. So, I'm just like, I struggle with Sanders because I think a lot of his success in Philadelphia came from being behind that line and in that offense. And it's kind of the reason why I think Swift is going to be so good there, is because you do get some space with the threat of Hurts running, and just, you're behind a really good line. It's a running back friendly offense. So him being the focus of the Panthers offense definitely worries me. But he's going to have every chance to succeed, and he's going to have high volume. So I am okay with drafting him at his ADP, because quite frankly, should probably be higher. I don't know. So I'm not super bullish on him, but I completely understand the role he's stepping into. So if he does have the talent level to succeed with that much focus on him, then he's going to be an awesome value pick there.
Yeah.
I
Shane,
don't hate it.
I'd like to get your opinion on something early on this offseason. Mike and I made a trade in my dynasty league. He gave me Miles Sanders. I gave him one of mine. I had multiple first round picks for next year. I gave him a first round pick for Miles Sanders. Do you think I overpaid? Do you think it was the right price, or what do you think there?
That's a little steep for me. If especially, well, you said you had multiple first, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. What was the rest of your running back room looking like?
I have Nick Chubb. I have David Montgomery. I have a pretty strong running back room, but I really wanted the depth, and I thought Miles Sanders his value was going to increase with him on the Panthers. So that was just my thought process. But I do have a strong running back room regardless. He is in win now mode, and he could legitimately win the championship this year. So I was in a position where I knew I could get a lot for Sanders, more than probably, unless he breaks out this year and is incredible, then obviously I can get more for him then. But I felt I could get a lot for Sanders and just stack up. I actually traded away my first rounder for Bijan. So I was replacing that. And, I have Bijan. I have a team that has a lot of really good young players and is set up extremely well for the future. But I think I have 5 or 6 picks in the first 2 rounds next year in an 8-team league. So I'm not necessarily playing for a championship like Ryan is this year. So it was a good trade for both of us. And I just knew this was the year to unload Sanders in my mind. But anyways, so speaking of Bijan, he is my guy at running back. I do feel bad having my QB1 and my RB1 on the my guy list. I promise I'm not going to have Jamar Chase and Travis Kelce as the rest of my list. But Bijan, I had to I tried to actually even leave him off of the list, and Ryan was like,
you can't not have Bijan on your list. You're more of a Bijan guy than anyone that like ever, like anyone on Twitter. So Bijan, he's my guy. And quite frankly, in any league that's 2 receivers, 2 wide receivers, or 2 receivers, 2 running backs, I'm taking Bijan at the 103. So you are seeing him start to creep up and go mid first round, mid late first rounds, but I'm taking him at the 103 behind Jamar Chase and Jefferson in a 2 running back, 2 wide receiver league. That's how strongly I feel about him. So I felt like I had to have him on this list. I don't really need to get into why. I'll let Shane co-sign this and give a little Bijan, but you guys know how much I love him, so he's on my list.
Yeah, I think you're the only other person that has felt as strongly as I have that I've seen online. I remember saying, back when the mini camps were open, I'm taking Bijan over Eckler, which was crazy, I think. But now I think you see it almost everywhere.
Yeah.
I just think like his explosiveness, I think you're going to look at the years Barkley and Zeke both had. And that's almost 2,000 combined yards and 20 combined touchdowns. I really think that's coming.
Yeah. And his ability to catch the ball is insane. Like people don't really realize yet what you hear about it, but I think until you see what he's going to do in the pass game as well, which just unlocks a whole different level of running back, right? So right now the focus is, if Cordell Patterson and Algier can have 4.8 and 4.9 yards per rush in that offense, Bijan is a way better talent. But that the way he receives the ball is going to be a whole different like wave of hype after those highlights come through the first few games. So Ryan's trying to talk. Yeah, we have a little bit of a mic.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. There we go.
There he is.
Yes. No. I just wanted to add. We saw what Algier did there, over 1,000 yards last year, and he is not as talented as Bijan. So the sky's the limit for Bijan. But yeah, Mike, I'm glad you added Bijan and Josh Allen. Those really are your guys. And I was just kind of joking. I was like, it's not like you're taking Patrick Mahomes and Christian McCaffrey. It's close, but it's not that egregious. So I think you're totally fine there. But yeah, Bijan, we've seen it before. These rookie running backs come into the NFL and they just break the league. It happens year after year after year, and Bijan is next up.
Yeah, and Shane, we haven't known each other this long, but I've felt that way about Bijan since his freshman year in college. Literally, has been saying, watch out for this guy. And wherever he would have ended up, I would felt the same way about him. He can literally play anywhere and make that big of a difference. And then landing in Atlanta was just perfect because of Arthur Smith's style of football and then how much they're going to lean on him in that young core of an offense. So, yeah, no brainer to me. Who do you got?
So my guy, and these are all you're going to see I've got 2 running backs, and they all fall in the same range, which I love when you're looking at rounds, 4 through 7. So, I love Aaron Jones. Looking at him in round 4, you go wide receiver, or wide receiver, quarterback, tight end. Jones is the perfect RB1 to anchor your team. When you're looking,
Totally agree.
When you're talking about Josh Allen consistency, that's what you're getting with Aaron Jones, but nobody seems to talk about it. Top 12 the last 4 years in a row.
People were fading him last year because Dylan was supposed to break out. They were fading him.
Yeah,
and
which never happened.
As big of a disaster of a team the Packers were, what was he, RB 10, 9 or 10? He's still, top 10 running back.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So I agree on Jones. To be honest, that was one of the first eye-opening moments for me when I started getting into mocks this year, is in best balls especially, hammering wide receiver early and being like, wait, we can get Aaron Jones.
In order, you can get Aaron Jones, J.K. Dobbins, and Cam Akers. being able to start the heavy wide receiver and then get those three guys, it's just insane. So, I love the fact that you have Aaron Jones on your list, and he was definitely in consideration, along with someone who just mentioned Cam Akers. Like, honorable mention for me is Cam Akers. I love drafting him in the middle rounds in the quote-unquote running back dead zone, which I don't think is a thing this year. I mean, we'll see what happens, but there's so many running backs in the dead zone, quote unquote, that I like this year. So Cam Akers definitely deserves a mention.
Yeah, and you talked about Dobbins, so I have him on my my guys list, and you're gonna hear another Ravens player here later on. Ravens are my number 2 pick for Super Bowl champion this year. I am so excited to see that offense. I just think, like, obviously bringing in Monken and speeding things up a bit is huge, but the fact that there's no more drama with Lamar, JK looked healthy last year and looked great when healthy, and getting Zay Flowers and then a healthy Andrews. Well, Andrews supposedly got dinged up a little bit, but with a healthy offense there, the way that they all complement one another, I just think that's going to be such an exciting, fast-paced offense. So many weapons. The way that Flowers and Andrews complement one another, it's just going to open things up for Dobbins, and then the threat for Lamar to run. There's just so much room for Dobbins to have rushing success there that you give him an open field and he's gone. That's just the type of runner he is. He is a creative runner, and he eats up yards and gets in the end zone. So what is he being drafted at now, currently at ADP? Like RB 21 or something like that? Is that accurate? This mic thing is an issue. So anyways, I have him, I think, as my RB 14. Yeah. He has top 10 upside. So I love J.K. Dobbins. But do you have anything to add there, Shane?
No, I think just the other thing to add is, like, they also, I don't remember what the number is, but like Lamar Jackson's not ran for touchdowns inside the 5 a lot the last 2 years. Like, it is a small amount. Like, all of his touchdown runs are been longer ones. And so it's not like he doesn't have these goal line opportunities. He's going to have those. Like, Lamar's not taking those away anymore.
No. And the Ravens prefer to do that in general, to just like securely pound the ball when they get close. Yeah. Richard, 300-pound fullback, get in there and take up some space and let the running back go to work. So, so I have Bijan, JK. Do you have any others to add, Shane? I know you have Aaron Jones.
So then the next one will be our favorite disagreement is Mr. Alexander Madison.
Yeah.
So
lay it on me.
So for me, there's a couple of things. I think everybody in the fantasy world knows the stats about when Dalvin Cook was gone. He averaged 20 points a game and everything. So everybody knows that stats. What I think is interesting to point out about Madison is 2 things. So a lot of times when I'm going to be on a guy, I like to see what the team is telling me. Okay. And so the team made an effort. First thing this offseason, they signed him to a 2-year, $7 million deal. Like, 6.5 of it was guaranteed. So that shows me they were making a commitment to him, knowing that they were going to probably let go of Cook. The second thing is I'm following what they're doing. He hasn't seen a carry at all in the preseason. To me, that's saying we are going to save him. He's the bell cow guy. He's the 3-down guy. He doesn't have much competition. Ty Chandler's kind of emerging as his backup maybe, but that's nothing I'm too worried about.
Yeah. It's definitely like one of our biggest disagreements, one of our very few disagreements. And for me, it's just like all watching him run. I just don't like it. I think he gets you the yards that are given to him, but I just don't think he's got like great second level burst, or he doesn't really make guys miss. I mean, he is in a good offense with a really good running back role. And I think, like you're saying, they're going to give him every opportunity to succeed and run away with that job and be the bell cow. Like in terms of bell cow running backs, especially being drafted where he is, it's probably worth that risk. I just don't like him. I really don't. I don't like him as a runner. So the other thing that I don't like is that they think that this is their division, and then their schedule starts out so difficult. Like their home games are against the Chargers, Chiefs, and Niners to start the year. So if they get into a hole where they're 2-4, 2-5, at what point are they like starting to scramble and think like, all right, what are we going to do to change and get some, what are we going to do to we need to start doing something different. So, and I'm not necessarily saying Ty Chandler is this incredible backup that's nipping at his heels, but if he comes in and looks good, has a couple, looks good in pass protection, catches a few screens and has good runs, then I could just see him eating away a little bit at that bell cow role and seeing a production split slip his way a little bit. So that also kind of worries me, but I get it. Good ADP. Given that he stepped in and had 20 points per game when Cook was out and him being the bell cow, I think his ADP should just be higher, and it's not. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. For me, when I look at the numbers when he started, obviously, Shane, you mentioned it, everybody knows him. But what stands out to me, it's his success was not sporadic. It was consistent. It's like every single time he got the opportunity to be the lead back for the Vikings, he succeeded with like 20 carries, over 100 yards, and like an average of 4 receptions. Like it's hard to say that's not going to happen when he gets the ball, because it has happened every time he's gotten the lead role. So for me, that's what it comes down to, is the consistency at which he succeeded when he was the lead back. So.
Yeah, and I'm definitely at a disadvantage in that argument because of exactly what you just said, Ryan. Like every time he had the opportunity, success. And then Shane, they're getting rid of Cook. They made that known early on, handing him the bell cow role. Like I don't have much of an argument or much to say back to that, other than like I just don't like what he looks like on film, which how good of an argument is that? It's not really that good. I think my best argument is the schedule thing, honestly, and that's more of like a narrative than it is statistics or facts. So, I'm not going to sit here and have a passionate argument about it because I know I'm at a disadvantage walking into it. I just wouldn't be surprised if Ty Chandler takes over some of that production as they are sitting 2-6 in their first 8 games. But anyways, do you have anyone else, Shane?
The last running back I had real quick, we don't spend a lot of time, but please, I don't know. I'll see what you guys think. Why is there such a big ADP discrepancy between David Montgomery and Gibbs? Like there is too big of a gap still that I'm seeing, and I don't understand it.
Yeah. What's that contract that they gave Montgomery? Because they paid him some money too.
Yeah, it was a good contract. It was like $6 million a year for 3 years. So, the Lions, they target their running backs. The last 2 years, they were in the top 6 in running back targets. Gone is 45 carries from Jamal Williams inside the 10 and all of his goal line touchdowns. They're not giving that to Gibbs, obviously. Gibbs is still a rookie where Montgomery is the established veteran. And then there's this notion that Montgomery can't catch,
Yeah.
He had
he was great. He was a great receiver in Chicago.
Over 55% route participation, 88% catch rate, 8 yards per catch, which was 5th in the league for running backs. I mean 8 yards per target. He can catch the ball, so he can still be in there on third downs. Yeah,
I don't think there's much negative things Bears fans can say about Montgomery. He was a great running back when he was in Chicago. He really was. He just wasn't really on the best teams, to be honest. But he's stepping into a role that's going to be replacing 17 rushing touchdowns. Like even if he gets 9, that's a pretty significant amount. You know what I mean? So I could easily see him having double digits rushing touchdowns. And you're right. Like, to me, Gibbs is going to be great, and he's going to have a huge role in the offense. That's why they drafted him so early. But they're going to get creative with Gibbs. They're going to have them both on the field at once. There's never going to be a scenario this year where Gibbs is the lead back and Montgomery just kind of hedges drives to give Gibbs rest. So yeah, I should be on Montgomery more than I am. I hope I get him in a couple drafts based on what round he's going in. So I agree with you there.
Yeah, I love Montgomery this year, but I guess I have been overlooking him. I just don't have him ranked that much higher than his ADP. I do have him higher, but not by much. So, but yeah, I mean, he is going to get a ton of work over there. So we'll see what that amounts to, but it should be pretty good. Mike, let's jump into wide receivers. Why don't you kick us off? Who do you got for you're my guy at wide receiver?
I'm going to go guys. I'm going to go 2 at once just because they're kind of both in the same position. But Brandon Ayuk and George Pickens. Ayuk, I think, showed last year he's the best receiving target on the 49ers. I just think he's taking a step forward this year as well. Purdy / Darnold being the 2 quarterbacks there only benefits Ayuk. So I'm super high on Ayuk, especially where he's being drafted. He's being drafted behind that, like Judy, Allen, McLaurin, Debo, Michael Pittman. He's like the afterthought in that range of players, and I like him way more than all of them. So if we're sitting in a draft where those players are going off the board and I can sit back and get Ayuk like maybe a round later than I have him valued at, I mean, he's my wide receiver 15. So if I can get him, his ADP's, mid early 20s, if I can get him at my wide receiver 15 that late, that's a almost automatic pick. I think I've seen him on basically every roster of mine because of that.
Yeah, I've seen Ayuk go pretty late. Like his ADP may even be like the back end of the 20s, like almost even 30s. Yeah, double check it right now because I at one point in the season I'm up at like 15, 16, 17, and he was in the low 30s. So yeah, you can definitely grab some value if you wait on him since where you have him ranked. But yeah, I mean, I love those 2 picks. I mean, Pickens and Ayuk are
29. So yeah, 29. He's even later than
go.
I thought. I just think of him because I take him ahead of those guys, but I have him as my wide receiver 15, and he's being drafted at 29. I mean, that disparity is insane. So he's behind everyone we just talked about: Hopkins, Moore, McLaurin, Judy, Watson, Mike Williams, Godwin, London, and Lockett. I mean, I'm taking Brandon Ayuk before Lockett 10 out of 10 times.
It's almost like Montgomery and Gibbs, like that gap with him, with Ayuk and Samuel. Like
Deebo's wide receiver 17.
Yeah, and it's closing. It used to be a bigger gap, and I just didn't understand when he dusted him last year in every receiving category on the team. And just even if you didn't look at the stats, like eyeball test, you could see he is the more gifted receiver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. And then Pickens, like I just have him closing that gap on Deontay. I think this year he's going to be wide receiver 1. I don't know how many times in these podcasts I've said Pickett and Pickens' chemistry is just special. Did you guys see that catch that he had tonight on Thursday night, week 3? Like that, those are the kind of catches that you're going to see because
on a
Pickett
weekly basis.
He just knows if I have him one-on-one going deep, not only is it not going to get intercepted because of how athletic he is, there's a good chance I just throw it up there and Pickett comes down with that ball. Well, you're seeing Pickett throw perfect balls to him now on the sidelines. So their chemistry is just so good. And I think it's going to, I mean, I've said it a million times. their growth is going to be expedited because of that chemistry they have with one another. And
the sheer talent with Pickens.
That's what I mean. Raw talent.
Ryan Clark. You heard Ryan Clark come out and say that George Pickens is more talented than Justin Jefferson. And I mean, honestly, I see more spectacular catches out of George Pickens than I see out of Justin Jefferson. Not to say that Jefferson doesn't have spectacular catches. He had one of the greatest, probably the greatest catch of all year last year, with that helmet behind the thing catch. That was unbelievable. But it seems like Pickett is doing that kind of stuff like every day in camp. Like every day I keep seeing these different catches. So he has crazy potential. And I mean, I said this before to Mike. I think, pretty soon, within a couple of years, we're going to be talking, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, George Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I hope so. But I think it's going to be a huge step forward this year. He is the wide receiver 34 right now. Shane, you've said that I kind of put you on Pickens and you're warming up to him. So I want to hear your take and how you felt about him, and then where you feel about him now. I mean, obviously the camp hype and seeing, he had a touchdown last week and maybe even week 1, but let's hear what your kind of evolution on coming on the Pickens train is like.
Yeah. So full disclosure. So for the Sports Ethos draft guide I did a boom bust for every team, and I had Pickens as a bust because he had such a limited route tree last year. He was either like 45% of his routes were either go routes or sideline routes. He was getting nothing in the intermediate routes tree. And so I just thought, that I didn't think in a PPR league he was going to have a very safe floor. But, I started hearing some of those camp reports about he was getting more of those routes. And then, you kept talking him up. And so I started watching him in the preseason, and that chemistry is there. And he just is so dynamic. It's another one of those eye test things where he is just so dynamic. When I revised that article, that was one of my major revisions. Was him and James Cook were my top 2 revisions for bust that I changed completely on.
Yeah, I mean, Pickens, I think his touchdown in preseason was a slant, wasn't it?
Yep.
He runs a slant, and you just see how athletic he is, and he's such a tough son of a bitch. He goes across the middle, and he's like, yeah, you should be the one scared. You know what I mean? And he catches the ball and has that aggression. And then the way that athletically, the way that he just makes a cut and he's gone. So hopefully you see a lot. I know last year, I was very high on him again last year, and he had some good games, and he quietly had a great rookie season, but they were such a mess. There was just no hype around it. The Steelers were just so bad all year, but he's going to be unleashed this year, and the Steelers are going to be a lot better of a football team, and you're just going to continue to see plays between Pickett and Pickens all year. I think that's whoa, so that's those are my receivers, my guys. I'll pass it on. Ryan, you go ahead and give us your receiver.
Yeah, hopefully my mic works for this. My receivers, my guys, are the Cleveland Browns receivers, Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. I am really high on Amari Cooper, and I'm also really high on Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is going Elijah Moore is going so late. Amari Cooper last year, we saw it, man. He was the top 10 receiver. He was ranked number 10 last year in PPR leagues. And now I think everybody would agree that this offense is going to be better. You got Deshaun Watson, who's got a fully healthy offseason with these guys, and they're humming. And Chubb's going to be making that run game look really spectacular with Jerome Ford, which is even going to open up the passing game even more. So if Amari Cooper was able to be a top 10 receiver last year, and now he has a fully healthy season with Deshaun Watson, I mean, am I crazy to think he has a top 5 type of ceiling? I don't think so. I think he's definitely has that ability in him still, and if Deshaun can get him the ball. So That's a very bullish take on it, but I also think he's being drafted too late. I have him well inside my top 15. I don't have it right in front of me, but I have him ahead of a lot of guys. So really high on him. And then Elijah Moore, man, we've heard the talks from camp about him. The coach is calling him positionless. He's going to be in the backfield. He's going to be out split. He's going to be split out wide. He's going to be all over the field, and he's going to be getting the ball. They're going to be manufacturing touches for this guy. They know what type of weapon he is for this offense. And I think the offense is going to run with Nick Chubb, Elijah Moore, and Amari Cooper. And you can get a good value on Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore in drafts.
Yeah, I want to step in and just give my take because I know Shane's got an opposing take on this with Cooper. So, yeah, I think Cooper's incredibly talented and he's a ball hawk. And I do think that the Browns should be a lot better offensively and as a football team in general. They're in such a good division. So I agree with you on Cooper, and I do see myself taking him almost the same as Aaron Jones, or like if I go running back, and Cooper's my wide receiver 1, I'm comfortable. I'd rather have one of those top tier wide receivers in every single draft. But if for some reason, we just did a best ball and had Bijan and Barkley and Cooper was our wide receiver 1, feel fine there. And his ceiling's top. I mean, in order for him to be top 5 or be number 5, he's going to need Deshaun to have one of those top 5 quarterback seasons that we saw with him in Houston. So can that happen? Yes. Do I think it happens? I'm hesitant to say yes, but regardless, he is a ball hawk and he gets the ball and he has those massive plays. I'm a big Cooper guy, so I'm cool with that. I can co-sign that take, but yeah. In terms of Elijah, that is like a big swing for me that I think connects. Because I do think they're going to get creative, and you've heard me say the whole him and Watson are looking for redemption and they're going to find it together thing. So I am still on the Browns, but I am worried because that division's so good and a lot could go wrong pretty quickly, and they're just the Browns. But yeah, I like them both for sure.
All right, I'm going to pull my I'll be Jon Snow versus the White Walkers here on the Rose Show.
No, I want to hear it. I do.
To spend a third round draft pick and your possibly your number 1 wide receiver on a guy that you can only start half of the games during a year. Cooper, the last 2 years, has been on average like wide receiver 44 or something on road games. He's awful. And that includes last year when he was wide receiver 2 in the quote unquote road game in Detroit that got moved. It was supposed to be in Buffalo. They played it in Detroit.
Yeah.
So if you want to sit there and be able to play him all the home games, but if I'm spending a third round pick, I want to be able to start him in more than just half the game. So I think that's my one big dislike on Cooper. And this even goes back, I mean, that's the last 2 years, but I mean, as a Cowboys fan, I remember the same thing. He was not, for some reason, the guy would not show up on road games and tough road games. I don't know what it is about his mentality. And then the other thing I don't think people mention, and I could be off, but I kind of think Cedric Tillman may be something there.
Yeah, he's good.
He looks good. Maybe he eats away a little bit of those downfield targets that Cooper was getting. So that's kind of where I am at Cooper. I like Elijah Moore. That's a guy you should target. I think in PPR, he could have a good safe floor as a bench receiver.
So I'm going to punch back at you here. And some of that, like last year, like it's just going to be a different team. Like Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball is not Deshaun Watson throwing the ball.
I know it's better. It's better. It's better Brissett throwing the ball than Deshaun Watson.
No. That is like the easy knock, right? Is since Deshaun has been back in you're actually hearing some, there are some negative conversation around him throwing the ball this offseason, but I've watched so much Deshaun Watson, and he's so talented that I just don't. I think he's still young enough that like he's got to have a resurgence in his career. Like this, we're gonna have to see. I am more confident in Deshaun Watson having a resurgence than I am on the Browns like being a Super Bowl contender. But like I just think when Amari Cooper gets 10 plus targets a game, he gets those 7 or 8 catches, which is always going to lead to 100 yards, and he scores touchdowns. Last year at Buffalo, is that the game that's the game that got moved? Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I was going to point to that game. I was going to point to that game and be very happy, but
no. Shane, you're right though.
But here's his swing and misses. So week 13, 14, both away. Week 10 away. He has 7 points, 8 points, 7 points. And then at Atlanta, 2 points. At Carolina, 4 points. So those are his swings and misses.
All of those were later on in the season, right? When Watson came back.
His first game was a dud. But anyway, so then you have these games where he's 9 for 100 and a touchdown, 7 for 100 and touchdown. I mean, 5 for 131 and a touchdown. Like he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games over 20 points. I want to say 4 of those are over 25, and one of them is that Buffalo game where he had 35. So, I mean, he does sometimes in fantasy football, if a guy is what you're alluding to as a boom bust receiver, and he can win you weeks just on getting a 35-point week, 25-point weeks from that receiver position. I mean, as long as he's having those boom weeks more than bust weeks, then you're probably in a good spot. That being said, spending that third round capital on that is concerning. You want the consistency, but I don't know. I just think that Deshaun Watson, my confidence lies in Deshaun Watson, and I just hope he shows up as a real quarterback again because he was so good for so long.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to bring up kind of punches back on myself and helps Shane's argument there. When Deshaun came back on the team, like,
don't let Jon Snow beat the White Walkers.
No, I'm just helping him out a little bit, okay? But no, but Shane, it's true. When you saw Deshaun Watson come back with the Browns last year, Amari Cooper's production just went downhill the rest of the season. Like he was a number 10 receiver last year because of how prolific he was with Brissett. But I think that just goes to show how much rust Deshaun Watson had, and he just wasn't ready to come back in. And yeah, absolutely. So it's like I'm confident that with the off season, with the moves the Browns made, and who I think Deshaun Watson is as a player, I can't imagine that failure continues. And I think they bounce back, and Amari Cooper if he was a top 10 receiver with that adversity last year, top 5 is definitely in the possibilities for me.
Yeah. So Shane, I want to hear about there's definitely some bad taste from the Cowboys. Like you've watched more Cowboy football than us. So like, what is your distaste for him being a Cowboy? Like just the home away thing that you?
Yeah, it's just the home away thing. Yeah. Home away. But I also, don't you think, answer me this, like, don't you think there's also more and better competition for targets this year in Cleveland also?
So like,
yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm just not a DPJ guy. I hear like a lot of people are and think that he's like a legitimate threat to take away target share. I don't really. I mean, Njoku should have more of a trying to get him more involved, more and more. And quite frankly, like Deshaun does like his tight ends, but Cooper's a ball hawk. Like
that's what I was going to bring up.
He's getting his 10 targets a game, and when that happens, he scores a touchdown and gets 100 yards. So I don't know.
To me, he's just like the same type of receiver as, in a sense, I'm not doing a direct comparison, but the way that DeAndre Hopkins commands targets, the way that Devontae Adams demands targets. They're so good on the football field that you just throw them the ball so much. Like Amari Cooper, during his career, he's had games with like 15, 16, 17 receptions scattered throughout the career, but that's the type of player he is. He's that prolific on the field. He's that good of a talented wide receiver that I just think in that Browns offense, Deshaun is just going to be looking to him almost every single play.
Yeah, like I'll chalk him up for 80 catches, 1,200 yards, and 8 touchdowns as like what my realistic projection for him would be this year.
And if that's the case, I'm happy with that type of production out of a third-round receiver.
Yeah, I am too. I'm scared for the Browns. It's like you just have to do it this year, you know?
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. That's going to be something that we're watching like pretty closely. It's one of those teams that could have a wide range of outcomes. But the defense is there. Chubb's going to have a huge role. I just want to see them. I need to see it. I understand, Shane, like we have to see it to truly believe it, right? That's kind of what he is. And if, you know, you're not willing to spend the third round capital on it, I totally get it. But yeah, I like Amari. Let's get into tight ends. Ryan.
Wait, did you go through your wide receivers, Shane?
Yeah. I mean, there was just one more. I don't think St. Brown, he's my Bijan. That's all right. He's my Bijan. You know, everybody's on him, but you know, I've been on him for a while. I made a trade in a keeper league last year where I gave a Devontae Adams for him in a deal just because I kind of saw the talent and, I saw this stat somewhere. I don't know who it was, but, you know, I think he only had 5 touchdowns, but the guy was tackled inside the 5-yard line 7 times. I mean, he's going to get up to double-digit touchdowns. You know,
yeah.
I don't know. He will. And then I think this time next year, we will see in every mock draft, he's going in the first round.
Yeah, well, he's close. He's close this year. Very close to being in the first round. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I have no reservations on that take. Amon-Ra is going to have a dominant year, especially with Jameson Williams out those first 6 weeks. So
yeah, and then Laporta's the tight end. It's not Hawkinson, right? Yeah. So like he's gonna be talk about a ball hawk. Like he's gonna be getting an insane amount of targets this year in an offense that's going to score a lot of points in a weak division with horrible defenses. I love that. I need to be rostering him more than I have. Actually, you've been seeing, like, I've seen him in best ball, underdog best ball drafts go as high as like 107. So, you know, people are onto him like you are, and he's fallen to the second round. That's probably someone we should be targeting a little bit more. And then you also have Mr. Jahan. I want you to talk about him as well. I saw that.
Jahan.
Jahan. Yeah. So even before the injury for Scary Terry, I was not a McLaurin guy. I was always just, hey, wait 2 rounds later, whatever, take Dotson.
Same.
You know, the guy like last year, like I think he had 35 catches, but like half of the games he was a top 25 guy. You know, so he was super efficient, you know. Now, maybe is he not that super as efficient this year? Who knows? But I guarantee you he's getting more than 35 catches. That's going to go way up. Yep. You know, and like last year, he did not play a lot in the slot position. For some reason, they kept wheeling out there in his wheelchair, Curtis Samuel, for some reason, to play the slot, which makes no sense to me. I got to think Eric Bieniemy is much smarter than that, and they put Dotson in more that slot position. And so that, I mean, you get in that slot, you line him up now in the slot position, and catches are going to go up dramatically.
Yeah,
especially from Howell. Howell's looking good, man.
Howell's looking good. A lot of that production's gonna be contingent on Howell's success, which, like, he slings the ball, so he may be one of those guys that has like high interception numbers unless Bieniemy can keep him out of that, but he's going to be slinging the ball. I agree. I think a little bit less than Pickens, but he's nipping at Terry's heels to be the number one guy, just from like red zone targets. I mean, like I think he had 7 touchdowns in those 35 catches. So, he's their guy that they look to towards the end zone. I think the knock on him is like pure athleticism, maybe size a little bit, but he's one of those guys that can find space, play breaks down, he's open, kind of becomes like a quarterback's best friend. I would definitely, like, he's one of those, I completely co-sign this. He's one of my guys. If I could have Ayuk, Pickens, and Dotson late round wide receivers on every team, I would. So yeah, I completely agree there. Again, I also like Antonio Gibson on that team. So like, do I want to roster Gibson and Dotson on every team? I don't know that I love having that much in the Commanders offense.
Yeah, your outlook on the Commanders, you don't think they're going to be very good this year, so it's tough when you don't think the team's going to be good, but you like almost every one of their players,
Yeah, and that's like baked into their ADP, and that's why I kind of like them, right? Like Antonio Gibson, I'm just a believer in him over Robinson. I like that. I mean, you saw how Bieniemy brought him out of the backfield on that route over the middle, score a touchdown. Like he's, I don't know, but yeah, love Dotson. So recapping the wide receivers: Ayuk, Pickens, Amon-Ra, Dotson, Cooper, Elijah Moore. You'll be seeing all of those players on my draft board, so I'm very happy with all of our selections there. Tight ends, I have Mark Andrews, who another kind of like Allen. Like I think he's going to have a huge year and be one of those like separator type tight ends that we've seen out of him in the past. I love that offense. I already talked about that. So Andrews is a guy that I just feel safe taking in the 3rd round if he's there. And then Dalton Kincaid. I mean, I've probably been as big on Bijan as I have Kincaid, and that's because did people just not believe the narrative that he's going to be used as a receiver? Like, like they literally said that when they drafted him, and people just like disregarded it and just started yelling rookie tight end. And I've just been sitting here drafting him. I think our exposure on Underdog is over 50% on him. Like,
yeah,
I can draft him as tight end 13, and he's comfortably going to be top 5 if he is used as a wide receiver, which he's lined up there more than tight end. So Dalton Kincaid for me is just like, I don't care if I already have drafted Andrews. I almost never go 2 tight ends, but I'm just drafting Kincaid solely because I can line him up as a tight end or in the flex at this point, because he's going to be such a big part of an offense that I think is going to be one of the best, if not the best in the league.
Yeah, those are 2 great tight ends, and this wouldn't be my guys without you taking Dalton Kincaid, Mike. So I love that. Just very, very much you. But I agree with you. He's being drafted outside the top 12, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so I also want to say, like, what I did in your Dynasty League. I had 2 first-rounders, which ended up being JSN and Gibbs. I traded both of those and another first-rounder that I got last year that I picked up last year from Alvin Kamara trade, just because I needed Bijan. I'm like, I'm not leaving this draft
3 first rounders, Shane. He gave up for Bijan.
And I understand that's an overpay, like in a lot of people's minds, but I think Bijan's going to be that special in the league, and he's going to just be a cheat code for a while. But then I also traded my 2nd rounder and a 3rd rounder to move up to the beginning of the 2nd and grab Kincaid. So this is not like hopping on the train after we've seen what they've done in camp kind of things. Like, I've had my eyes set on them, and I think I'm only been happier to see how things are playing out. But yeah, Shane, give us your Kincaid take? Because I know you love him too.
Yeah, just real quick, it's like, people just love to throw at you the rookie tight end stats. And I'm like, this guy is not a rookie tight end. He's a wide receiver, but hey, you get to put him in the tight end slot. I mean, that's the beauty of it. Like, I can see a world this year where he outperforms Kyle Pitts. I really can.
For sure, yeah.
I could 100% see that happening. And like you said, he's going outside the top 10, but he has probably one of the best shots to be top 5 of anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, like, literally when they drafted him, coaches came out and said, we're going to put him in the Beasley role and see how he does. And you know what? Like, Beasley at one point in the Bills offense, people were rostering him because he was getting 7 catches,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Kincaid's just going to be more of a force in the end zone because of his size and the mismatches he has out there. So, it's like a Beasley role, but it's way more expanded upon that because of his athleticism and his ability to catch the ball and like his size. I mean, then you see them play 2 tight ends. Their line is probably the one knock on that offense and that team is that offensive line, but they're confident that they can line up Knox and Kincaid in the line and kind of make up for that. So he's just going to be on the field the entire game. He's not, I don't know. I love him, but that's all. I'll rest my case on Kincaid. Draft him literally on every team, or you're a fool.
Yeah. I have someone being disrespected, just like Kincaid, and that's Greg Dulcich. Greg Dulcich, for me, he's being drafted outside of the top 15, but I have him inside my top 10. I have him at number 8, and I still feel like that could be low. Like especially now with the Jerry Jeudy is out for several weeks with a hamstring injury. Now I feel even better about my take on Dulcich. But I mean, you heard Sean Payton right when he got into camp. Right when camp started, he was just glowing reviews about Greg Dulcich, how he could be the joker of the offense, creating mismatches all over the field. Like, the guy is just so spectacular. If you watch his film, you see what we're talking about. The guy is just crazy talented. I love drafting Dulcich. Getting him late in drafts just seems unfair to me, and I'm just doing it in almost every single draft. I'm grabbing Dulcich for sure.
Yeah, so I have a question for Shane because I genuinely don't know he's been steamed the wrong way lately. People are off of Dulcich more as of recent, and why is that? Is it because of what his route run? Is
it purely just Russell Wilson being trash or what?
It's comical. It is. You know what it is? It is because it's preseason games and people are freaking out about Adam Troutman out snapping him with the first team. And please tell me the last time that Adam Troutman took away targets or outproduced anybody in the tight end room at New Orleans.
I wanted to hear you say that because that's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I just thought there may be something else that I was missing, but he's on Underdog now. He's tight end 18 because of that narrative.
Yep.
And to me, it's crazy. Dulcich is so talented as a receiver, and we've seen the way that Peyton likes to get receivers involved. Peyton came out and said, this guy's going to be like a unicorn for our offense because we're going to line him up with these mismatch. Like, I just don't really understand why he's being steamed the wrong way now. But I'm here for it because I would love to, scoop him up anytime I can. So
yeah. And then my last tight end to wrap up my guys is someone being drafted even later. You can get him even later. You might not even have to draft this guy. He's basically going undrafted. Mike Gesicki.
You don't have to.
Yeah. No, you don't. No, he's going undrafted, but he's someone that I want on my team because I think, number one, the Patriots don't have a strong wide receiving core. Yeah, they got, Douglas. He's intriguing. They paid Juju. They paid Devontae Parker. I don't really think that they're really going to be that much of a factor. I think the way that they talk about Gesicki, they went and got Gesicki, and they look at him as a tight end wide receiver hybrid, just like we're talking about with Kincaid. Like, in practices, they said that Gesicki is working with the wide receivers. He's not even working with the tight ends. Like, they don't view him as that, your typical tight end like Hunter Henry. Like I don't agree with the narrative that Hunter Henry is going to get a ton of the work, because I think Gesicki's just playing that whole different role. It's very similar to the Dawson Knox and Kincaid version to me. It's just the Patriots version. And I think with the lack of weapons in the receiving room for Mac Jones, I think he can form a nice connection, especially in the red zone with Mike Gesicki.
Could you give us the Mike Gesicki gritty dance to kind of hammer home that take?
Yeah,
I wish I could. I wish I could. I would if I could.
I was gonna be very civil with your take until you brought up Dalton Kincaid. Don't you fucking dare compare Mike Gesicki to Dalton Kincaid.
I'm talking about the
Don't
role.
you do that?
I'm talking about the role. The way that they're talking about Kincaid used as a receiver, they're saying the same thing about Mike Gesicki with the Patriots.
So I guess like I guess I'm not as much on that train as you right now, just because like I need to see that before I believe it. I just like I don't know how much I just don't know enough about the Patriots to be completely honest. I've just put them at like so far out of sight that I haven't paid attention to anything going on in New England, because I'm not interested in Mac Jones. I'm not interested
You do know Bill O'Brien is back with the team.
I know that, and I did hear the coaches say they look at Henry and Gesicki as Gronk and the guy who's no longer with us. So like I'm intrigued at how they're gonna, and I think they need the tight ends to be that important in order for them to have success. I don't know. I just don't know enough. I hope I never watch the Patriots this year on Sunday.
I feel that.
All right, let's each run through our guys and then close this out. I have Josh Allen, quarterback, Josh Herbert at quarterback as well. J.K. Dobbins, Bijan Robinson, J.K. Dobbins, Brandon Ayuk, George Pickens, Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid. Those are my guys.
My guys are Justin Fields, quarterback one in my heart, Miles Sanders, Cam Akers, Amari Cooper / Elijah Moore, and then also Dulcich and Gesicki. My guys.
My guys are quarterbacks 1 through 8. Take them.
Hey, that's not fair.
Jones. Aaron Jones, Alexander Madison, David Montgomery, wide receivers, Jahan Dotson, Aaron St. Brown, and then tight end Pat Freiermuth.
Oh, yeah. You're going to talk Freiermuth. Let's talk about him. I had you on Kincaid. Let's talk Freiermuth real quick.
Real quick, yeah, just a late round guy that you can take, if you're going to wait on position. He got half the red zone targets last year, but only 2 receiving touchdowns. But, they only threw for like 12 last year as a team. It was pretty pathetic. So, and he's another guy, like he runs a lot of the routes out of the slot position. So,
yeah, I like Muth. I've always said he just reminds me of Heath Miller out there. But he
has one of the best nicknames too.
Yeah. Love that. I do like Freiermuth. And we're also putting Ayuk on your board for sure. Yeah. And Bijan. And Kincaid, of course. So I do want to apologize. That was the second time that I left out a player of yours. This is a lot. This episode has been a lot longer than I think we expected. So
the longest episode in Roadshow history.
Yeah, and I'm honestly glad it's with Shane O'Mac.
This also a little caveat: most important show of Roadshow history, right here.
Yeah.
So we're glad you're watching.
Yeah, these are our flag plants. These are our, we're gonna stand behind these guys. So wanted to get it out to you before these next weeks of hopefully you're drafting as much as we are. because this is what all the preparation is for. And yeah, Shane, always a pleasure having you on. You are
Thank you.
You're going to be a big part of the road show, as you have been to this since the start. But throughout the year, we're going to have you on, and we're going to be talking football. But I do want to say you always add a lot to the episode. This time it was Jon Snow taking down the White Walkers, and you successfully did that. You made Ryan take back one of his guys.
I conceded.
So I love it. Always so much fun. But those are our guys. So roadies, go out and draft all of them. Connect with us on Twitter and show us your drafts and that you went out and got our guys. But make sure, as always,
buckle up.